Hi friends, we are back with another video on literary criticism. Today we are going to discuss the psychoanalytic criticism, that is literary theory developed based on theories and models of psychoanalysis developed by the famous psychologist Sigmund Freud. Before going to the explanation, if you didn't subscribe this channel, please subscribe it and hit the bell icon so that you will be notified whenever we upload new videos. So, let us go through this psychoanalytic theory. Psychoanalytic criticism. Criticism is based on the theories, psychological theories put forward by Sigmund Freud, that is psychoanalysis. And this psychoanalysis is psychological theories and therapeutic methods which have their origin in the work and theories of Sigmund Freud. The primary assumption of psychoanalysis is the belief that all people possess unconscious thoughts, feelings, desires, and memories. Primary basic assumption of psychoanalysis is the belief that all have unconscious thoughts, feelings, desires, and memories. The aim of psychoanalysis is to release repressed emotions and experiences. In our mind, there will be repressed emotions and experience, and to release this, that is to make the unconscious conscious, to make what is unconscious conscious. It is only having a cathartic or healing experience that can person be helped and cured. That is, the intention behind psychoanalysis is to cure mental problems. Psychoanalysis is a method of treating mental disorders shaped by psychoanalytic theory, which emphasizes unconscious mental processes and is sometimes described as depth psychology. It is sometimes described as depth psychology. The psychoanalytic movement originated in the clinical observations and formulations of Austrian psychiatrist Sigmund Freud, who coined the term psychoanalysis. Psychoanalytic criticism adopts the method of reading employed by Freud and later theorists to interpret text. Psychoanalytic criticism in literature actually adopts methods of reading employed by Freud and later theorists to interpret text. It argues that literary texts like dreams express the secret unconscious desires and anxieties of the author, that a literary work is manifestation of the author's own neuroses. Literary work is expression of author's own neuroses. Freudian mind. Freud explained mind in the distinct levels, each with their own roles and function. Freud delineated the mind in the distinct levels, and each level have their own roles and functions. First, the preconscious, which consists of anything that could potentially be brought into the conscious mind. Then the conscious mind contains all of the thoughts, memories, feelings and wishes of which we are aware at any given moment we are conscious of. This is the aspect of our mental processing that we can think and talk about rationally. The conscious is the aspect of our mental processing that we can think and talk about rationally. This also includes our memory, which is not always part of consciousness but can be retrieved easily and brought into awareness. Then, the unconscious. The unconscious mind is a reservoir of feelings, thoughts, urges, and memories that are outside of our conscious awareness. The unconscious contains contents that are unacceptable or unpleasant, such as feeling of pain, anxiety, or conflict. Reservoir of feelings, thoughts, and urges that are outside of our conscious awareness. Sometimes unconscious may contain unacceptable or unpleasant experiences because the society will not agree to express it. So it may be pushed into this unconscious mind. Freud has structured the human mind into three. First, the id. The id is the most primitive of three structures, is concerned with instant gratification of basic physical needs and urges. It operates entirely unconsciously. It is the most primitive of the three structures, animal instinct, or it is based on pleasure principle. Then the superego. The superego is concerned with the social rules and morals. It emphasizes social rules and morals, similar to what many people call their conscience or their moral compass. It develops as a child learns what their culture considers right and wrong. Then the ego. The ego, in contrast to the instinctual id, it is based on instinct or pleasure principle, and the moral superego. The superego is based on moral principles. The ego is the rational, pragmatic part of our personality. Is rational and practical part of our personality. It is less primitive than the id and is partly conscious and partly unconscious. It is what Freud considered to be the self. The ego is what Freud considered to be the self, and its job is to balance the demands of the id and superego in the practical context of reality. Then, at the root of Freud's theory is the idea that all people are driven by an instinctual drive called libido. This is often regarded as synonymous with sex drive, but Freud actually meant something closer to life force. It is being regarded as synonymous with sex drive, but it is something closer to life force. Based on this libidinal energy, Freud has developed a theory of psychosexual development, and this theory has divided the stages of development based on psychosexual drive, and they are oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. The first stage is oral stage, where principal source of pleasure is mouth. It is from 0 to 1 year old. Children derive pleasure from oral activities including sucking and tasting. They like to put things in their mouth. The child during this period equates its mother and feeding with love, so deprivation or forceful feeding can lead to later problems. In the later half of this stage, the child is weaned onto solid food and starts having to wait to be fed. This causes frustration and aggression. In order to deal with these, the child develops an ego and starts to differentiate itself from the people around it. See, during this period, if the child is being fixated, the consequence will be smoking, chewing pens and finch nails, etc., overeating, drinking. These may be the consequences of fixation. Then, second stage is anal stage. The period is 2 to 3 years. Children begin potty training. The source of pleasure is anus during this period. The child derives pleasure from expelling or withholding feces, or what elimination of feces gives pleasure. During this period, or the second stage, anal stage, the important influences are toilet training. The child is expected to expel or excrete feces only at the appropriate times and locations. It realizes that its parents' approval or love depends on this. See, the important influence is toilet training. Then third stage is phallic stage. The age range is 3 to 6 years old. During this period, boys are more attached to their mother while girls are more attached to their father. The source of pleasure during this phallic age is the penis or clitoris. Penis in the boys or clitoris in the girls. The child derives pleasure from masturbation. Important influences during this stage, third is, at this point, the girls and boys diverge as the Oedipus complex and castration effect, or Electra complex. Oedipus complex is successfully negotiated. Then fourth stage is latency stage. The age range is 6 years old to puberty. During this stage, children spend more time and interact mostly with same-sex PAs. The source of pleasure during the fourth stage is sexual drives are repressed because they have same-sex relation. During this stage, the child represses all of what has happened previously. It focuses on adjusting to its environment and acquiring the knowledge and skills it will need as an adult. Then final stage is genital stage. The age range is from puberty to death. During this stage, individuals are attracted to opposite sex PAs. The sexual drives from the id are reawoken and the remainder of adult life. During this period, the sexual drive remains of adult life and is dedicated to the pursuit of sex and sexual relationships. To understand it will be helpful to know this psychosexual development to understand literature and culture. Freud, not Freud, sorry, examined how mind affected body, and he had put forth concept of civilization and how the child is being trained or sublimated his sexual pleasure, a good civilization can be developed. And he had based the formation of civilization based on two principles, that the pleasure principle and reality principle. How these two principles are being handled is the result of civilization. Sublimation process where one subordinates the pleasure principle to the reality principles. Desires which are not fulfilled are converted into something sublime. Example of sublimation is abandonment of sex in the name of intense religious or spiritual experiences. Then, important term is dream mechanism. Dream mechanism is crucial for understanding the unconscious. Dreams are symbolic fulfillments of wishes that cannot be fulfilled because they have been repressed and it is not socially agreeable. A dream uses two mechanisms to disguise forbidden wishes. They are condensation and displacement. Dream uses two mechanisms to disguise forbidden wishes. They are condensation and displacement. Condensation is what? Representation of a number of people, events, meanings or things into a single one. That is concentration of a complex meaning into a simpler one. Concentration of a complex meaning into a simpler one. Displacement, while, is a situation where one person or event is represented by another that stands for it by association. The Freudian Erich Fromm uses terms like manifest content and latent content to refer the twin elements of dream mechanism. What Freud calls the latent dream is the expression of one's hidden desires, desires which are hidden in unconscious layer of the mind, the repressed material of the unconscious. Actually, socially unacceptable or unagreeable desires, wishes are put or hidden in the unconscious layer, that is latent dream. The distorted version of the dream as the individual remember it is the manifest content. As it is individual remember, the distorted vision is manifest dream, and the process of distortion and disguise is the dream work. Other entry points to unconscious are concept of parapraxis or slip of the tongue. While we are speaking or writing or whatever it is, something may come out of our mind unconsciously, that is slips of the tongue which will express our personality. And another one is jokes. While we are joking, the unconscious layer will disclose what is hidden there. Freudian literary critics pay attention to language, especially in puns and slips of the tongue, displacements and condensations, and they have given more attention, or Freudian literary critics have given more attention to close reading of language. Freudian discourse is organized around the concept of sexuality. That is, Freud tries to explain the personality based on the concept of sexuality. While discussing this concept, the term libido we have to know. What is libido? Libido is the energy associated with sexual drives or force by which sexual instinct is represented in the mind. Libido is anyway sexual energy. Then we have to know the concept castration complex. Castration complex is the anxiety of male whether his genital would be cut off and he would become like the female. While male has castration complex, at the same time the female have penis envy. Penis envy is psychological jealousy of the female due to her lack of penis. Then, while in the psychoanalytical criticism, the concept Oedipus complex is very important. Oedipus complex is the stage in which the infant desires the parent of the opposite sex on an unconscious level, that is, male desire for his female parent or boy desire for his mother. And castration complex and penis envy are two ways to master the complex, that is Oedipus complex, in normal people. How to master this Oedipus complex is the two-way castration complex and penis envy. In Freudian analysis of any work, Freudian analysis locates heroes afflicted by Oedipus strain. Example of this Oedipus complex are Paul Morel in Sons and Levies and Ivan and Dmitri in Chekhov's work. Strategies used by psychoanalytical critics. Central importance is given to the distinction between conscious and unconscious mind, and close attention is given to unconscious motives and feelings in psychoanalytical criticism. This criticism demonstrates the presence in the literary work of classic psychoanalytical symptoms, conditions, or phases. That is, the critics demonstrate the presence of classical psychoanalytical symptoms, conditions, or phases in the literary work. And another strategy used by psychoanalytical critics are application of psychoanalytic concepts to literary history in general, and they identify psychic context for the literary work. Lacan psychological theory. Psychoanalysis theory deals with these questions in respect of Jacques Lacan. How do we understand ourselves as individuals? One question. Then how can literature help us understand ourselves? How do we become fully functioning members of society? How do we gain a sense of identity? These are the questions psychoanalytic theory deals with according to Jacques Lacan. In Lacan's concept of psychoanalysis, the unconscious is foundation of all being and it is structured like language. Our unconscious is made up of wishes, desires, images that are always the signifiers and never the signified. There is an endless chain of signifiers without an anchor. According to Lacan, self is an illusion, the product of the unconscious. Self is the product of unconscious and it is an illusion. How do we go from infancy to the illusion called self? The process of becoming an adult is process of creating an illusion of an anchor. An anchor is what? A stable reference point for all the signifieds. The other is a structural position in the symbolic order. It is the place that everyone and everything is trying to get to. According to Lacan, the concept need ranges from 0 to 6 months, where the place is mother's breast, and phase of development is real and perfect unity and has no language. Then demand, while the infant is 6 and 18 months, the range of 6 and 18 months, he needs recognition and love and not just objects. And this stage is imaginary, and sense of self is a misperception of self in mirror. Then third stage is what? Which is denoted by the term desire. Since self is other, there is a sustained and never ending lack after language, and the stage is termed as symbolic, where the symbolic order is the place of adulthood. Here he submits to rules of language, law, language and restriction. Here we have given you a shorter explanation of psychoanalytical criticism. Okay, thank you for visiting this channel. Thank you.